I don't think so, because William's a bit like me. He doesn't actually view Harry as a victim. He doesn't. He views Harry as someone who has been a complicit part in an attempt to bring down the British royal family. And so that doesn't make him a victim. Like, he might be a victim of Meghan, but he's not a victim in terms of his behavior.
It started with an email, or rather several, laced with phrasing that, if even half true, could peel the gold leaf off Buckingham Palace's public facade. According to leaked internal communications allegedly tied to Meghan Markle's creative team, the Duchess of Sussex was not just interested in honoring Princess Diana's legacy, she wanted to weaponize it. The tone of these messages wasn't reverent, it was strategic. Terms like emotional leverage, parallel arcs, and the particularly jarring wounds that never healed appeared repeatedly, painting a picture of a project designed not merely to reflect on Diana's pain, but to spotlight it under a blistering lens aimed squarely at the monarchy.
I think that, as we've spoken about, this show has completely underperformed. It did not really appear on the Spotify charts. This was, of course, the podcast that she made with Lemonada Media. It's still unclear, actually, about what money has come from this podcast. So originally, when she signed up with Spotify, there was money up front. That deal went south. She signed up with Lemonada.
One line, now burned into memory, reportedly reads, "We need to frame Diana's story as a cautionary tale, one they can't ignore anymore." The implication? That Meghan saw in Diana's suffering a blueprint, or perhaps a mirror, and was now determined to push that reflection into the royal family's carefully curated narrative, whether they liked it or not. If this is true, then what we're looking at isn't just a documentary, cinematic act of rebellion dripping with accusation, cloaked in grief, and tailored for mass consumption.
So she's trying to paint these pictures of what she wants it to be, like, oh, I don't know who they are, and I'm so innocent to the world and everything. Girl, we are on to you. We see it.
And the timing couldn't be more calculated. Fresh off the dismal performance of her lifestyle show With Love, Meghan, which limped into Netflix's top 400 like a poorly staged souffle, this pivot to scandal smells less like passion and more like a desperate brand reset. The fallout inside the palace was immediate. One insider reportedly described the vibe as siege mode. Calls went out to PR crisis firms, legal teams were quietly briefed, and senior aides were spotted entering Windsor with folders thick enough to flatten a corgi. We're told a counteroffensive was launched within hours, designed to reclaim Diana's legacy before it could be rewritten in Meghan's voice. This wasn't about historical integrity, this was about optics, power, and protecting a dynasty that, despite its pomp, is one Netflix doc away from cultural irrelevance. One royal advisor allegedly called it a battle for the soul of Diana's memory. That's not just spin, that's warfare. But then came the twist that made even hardened palace watchers blink twice. A draft document reportedly circulated among Netflix execs outlined a pitch so incendiary it left some speechless. Dubbed by insiders as the Revenge Manifesto, the proposed treatment didn't just draw comparisons between Meghan and Diana, it conflated them.
Even in the Netflix show, she tells her mother, hey, Mom, I'm dating someone. It's Prince Harry. And then immediately her mother's like, oh my gosh. Like her mother knew. Okay, so if your mother knows who Prince Harry is immediately, then of course you did, Meghan.
Scenes were described that would parallel their most traumatic royal experiences, side by side. One leaked storyboard included a voiceover comparing press harassment in the 90s to current-day tabloid coverage of Meghan. Another allegedly suggested dramatizing Diana's final weeks in a way that emphasized her estrangement from the royal family, mirrored against Meghan's own exodus. The message was unmistakable. History is repeating itself, and this time, someone's filming it. And yet, even that wasn't the most unnerving part. That honor goes to a rumor so bizarre it makes the manifesto seem almost quaint by comparison. Multiple sources, including a former staffer from a now shuttered LA wellness retreat, claim that Meghan once took part in a seance designed to connect with Diana's energy. Yes, a seance, candles, crystals, the works. Some say it was a one-off, a grief-soaked attempt to find peace. Others whisper it was a recurring ritual, guidance from beyond. The story first surfaced in obscure royal gossip circles, then quietly picked up momentum after being echoed by a Montecito spiritualist who allegedly worked with one of Meghan's stylists. Whether it's true or not, the rumor refuses to fade, especially after the as ever rose. Meghan's newest product drop was launched on none other than Diana's birthday, July 1st. Coincidence? Not everyone's buying it. That same date also marks the day Meghan and Harry first began messaging on Instagram, a detail Harry himself notes in spare as uncanny. So let's do the math. She builds a lifestyle brand. She launches a sparkling beverage on Diana's birthday.
Like, we're not stupid. We get it. We see that you did know who they were. And what you've done is you've shown yourself in the past how you've tried to have the likeness of the late Diana and Catherine. And writing this article about her shows you that you clearly knew who these people were.
She positions it with words like elegant, timeless, and golden hour, all terms long associated with Diana's image. Suddenly, the obsession isn't just spiritual, it's commercial. A signature blend with soft stone fruit notes, sure. But is it also a fermented tribute to a woman who passed away almost 30 years ago and whose memory is being recast in Meghan's modern aesthetic? Of course, the palace isn't taking any of this lightly. Behind the scenes, there's growing concern that Meghan is trying to reclaim Diana not just as a maternal figure-in-law, but as a brand, one that sells better than her own. After all, With Love, Meghan came in at number 383 on Netflix's rankings. Suits reruns featuring Meghan before she ever crossed paths with a tiara outperformed it by millions of views. So if her current self isn't resonating with audiences, why not tap into the most powerful narrative still orbiting the Windsor solar system? Diana is, after all, the eternal royal icon, tragic, glamorous, wronged, and, crucially, untouchable, which makes her image the perfect vessel for Meghan's sharpest critique of the institution that cast her out. But here's where things get murkier. Some insiders argue that Meghan's Diana fixation isn't just strategy, it's personal, that she genuinely believes she's been chosen in some karmic relay race to pick up the torch Diana never got to carry across the finish line. Harry himself has said, "So much of what Meghan is and how she is so similar to my mom." That's not a casual comment. That's a husband drawing a sacred parallel, one that Meghan might have internalized far more deeply than the public realized. From the repurposed jewelry in her engagement ring to the humanitarian trips to the subtle styling echoes, it's clear she doesn't just admire Diana, she channels her.
I think you can see a lot of examples of that. Meghan trying to emulate things with Catherine and Diana, and it just shows you how much she was invested in these personalities that she wanted to be like. And I think,
which brings us back to that seance rumor, because if it's true, or even partly true, then we're not just looking at a branding maneuver. We're talking about a woman who may believe she's continuing a spiritual mission, that she's not just telling Diana's story, she's finishing it. And if that's the case, then every scripted line, every rose bottle, every curated scene in her upcoming projects isn't just content, it's consecration. Of course, the royal family sees things differently. They see encroachment, exploitation, a narrative breach so audacious that it could fracture what little goodwill remains between the Sussexes and the crown. Palace aides are reportedly combing through every public statement, every product release, looking for legal leverage. But that's tricky business when you're dealing with legacy, not trademarks. They can't copyright Diana's pain.
You've got to take them in the totality. The fact that Meghan Markle lied about the fact that she had no idea who Prince Andrew was and spent an entire event claiming that she didn't know who he was. The fact that she lied about not knowing anything about the royals.
They can't redact her past. And if Meghan's project frames that history as part of her own, emotionally, narratively, even mystically, then the royal family has no clean way to fight back without looking cold, defensive, or worse, complicit. Which leaves us with a question, not for the palace, not for Meghan, but for all of us watching this high-stakes reality show in real time. Is this an act of reverence or reclamation? Is Meghan Markle honoring Diana's legacy or rewriting it for her own gain? The public reaction has been nothing short of explosive. As soon as word of Meghan's alleged Diana-themed takedown hit the web, battle lines were drawn with terrifying speed. Longtime Diana loyalists, many of whom spent decades guarding her memory like a sacred flame, erupted in fury at what they saw as a calculated exploitation of her pain. Meanwhile, Meghan's fiercely protective fan base rallied in defiance, arguing that the Duchess was merely continuing Diana's fight against an institution that crushed them both. Hashtags like Diana these Meghan, Reclaim Diana, and the ominous Princess War began trending across multiple platforms, turning comment sections into digital battlegrounds.
There's been growing speculation that Meghan Markle, in her pre-Prince Harry era, before she had ever met the duplicitous Duke, was already a Catherine, Princess of Wales, and Princess Diana obsessive.
Even casual royal watchers found themselves dragged into the fray, as old interviews, archived footage, and side-by-style comparisons were dissected frame by frame. One post comparing Diana's iconic Angola landmine walk to Harry's recent solo trip to the same region drew nearly 4 million views on TikTok in just 3 days. Another viral thread accused Meghan of emotional cosplay, suggesting she was repackaging Diana's trauma for her own branding. The outrage wasn't limited to fans either. Royal correspondents began quietly pushing back, with one London-based editor stating, "With every tweet, every comment, her memory is being pulled further into a storm of speculation and division." That quote alone was shared more than 30,000 times within hours, and caught smack in the middle of this raging digital firestorm, Kate Middleton. The Princess of Wales has always been tethered to Diana's legacy, not just by marriage, but by media narrative. For years, she's been positioned as the royal family's calm, elegant heir to Diana's charitable spirit, the stable counterpart to Meghan's outsider energy. But now, even Kate can't escape the fallout. Several prominent posts claimed Kate had been eerily silent on the issue, fueling conspiracy theories that she and palace insiders were working behind the scenes to suppress Meghan's creative reach. Others flipped the script entirely, painting Kate as the real victim, the woman now forced to defend Diana's legacy from an in-law's commercial reinterpretation.
Trust me, that day is coming for you, Harry. You will rewind all these memories about what your wife has done, and you'll regret not doing something about it sooner. You're just in delusion right now.
No one is coming out of this clean. Not Harry, not the palace, and certainly not Netflix. In fact, behind the velvet curtain of the streaming empire, panic has reportedly set in. Internally, execs are scrambling to distance the company from Meghan's alleged editorial influence on the Diana-themed project. Multiple sources close to production suggest that recent drafts have been quietly scrubbed, scenes trimmed, names omitted, credits rearranged. It's damage control, disguised as revision. One insider put it bluntly, Netflix doesn't want to be accused of dragging Diana through the mud, not with shareholders watching. That's corporate speak for, we've got $100 million on the line and we're not sinking the ship for sentiment. But here's the real kicker. While Netflix remains publicly neutral, behind closed doors there are whispers that Meghan's creative control over the Diana project was far more sweeping than previously acknowledged. 3 former consultants tied to Archewell's media arm claim she had final say over interview selection, narrative tone, even which archival clips would be featured. If true, it confirms that her fingerprints are all over the content Netflix is now pretending she barely touched. And with season 2 of With Love, Meghan already shot and set for fall, despite season 1's humiliating flop at number 383, it raises the question, is the platform covering for her, or just trying to quietly clean up a mess they underestimated? Let's not forget, this isn't just about creative disagreements, it's about survival. Netflix is under pressure to justify its investment in the Sussexes, especially as viewership numbers keep falling like loose tea leaves on a Montecito table. Meghan's brand may sell out jam jars in minutes, but that charm isn't translating to screen time.
The other thing I'm going to say, and I know this is weird, but there's one of those conspiracy theories on the internet that she might not have actually carried her babies, one or both, that they may have used a surrogate. Trust me, because I'm neck deep in all the news around these two. And there are many people who long before today are convinced she used surrogates and that her pregnancies were fake, one or both of them.
Meanwhile, Suits, the show that made her famous, continues to outperform all her new content. And Harry, his polo documentary barely cracked 500,000 views. That's not just underwhelming, it's historic in the worst way. No one at Netflix wants to admit it, but the numbers are sending a loud message. The Sussex shine is dimming. Behind closed doors, concerns are reportedly mounting within Netflix's executive circles about the long-term viability of their $100 million pact with Harry and Meghan. What once seemed like a golden ticket, a guaranteed ratings draw thanks to royal intrigue and global tabloid attention, now feels more like a gamble gone sideways. Multiple industry sources have hinted at internal discussions, questioning whether the Sussexes can still deliver value without courting controversy. The Diana scandal in particular has become a lightning rod inside the company, with some higher-ups reportedly frustrated by the optics of being tethered to a storyline that many feel veers uncomfortably close to manipulation of royal grief for personal gain. Even more troubling for Netflix is the discrepancy between buzz and viewership. The Sussexes undeniably generate headlines, but the return on that visibility is proving unreliable. With Love, Meghan generated a modest bump in press during its release window, but viewership cratered within days and follow-up engagement dropped off a cliff. The harsh reality?
But it is just as intimate and none of our effing business. But she needs us to love her. So she will do whatever it takes, and she doesn't know how to make us love her.
Netflix can't afford passion projects that underperform. And while their deal with the couple still has deliverables pending, including the already filmed season 2 and at least one more documentary, there's growing speculation that future extensions may be off the table. One longtime streaming analyst noted that these types of prestige deals only last as long as they're politically safe and financially sound. Right now, the Sussexes may be neither. Whispers have already begun circulating about budget reallocations, shelved pitches, and quietly nixed concept decks. Though unconfirmed, at least one project originally greenlit under the Sussex development banner has reportedly been postponed indefinitely, with insiders citing creative differences. In Hollywood, that phrase can mean anything from mild aesthetic disagreements to full-scale implosion. In this case, it's likely code for the brand is too volatile. Meghan and Harry may still draw media oxygen, but there's a growing sense they're no longer seen as reliable collaborators. And as newer talents clamor for Netflix's attention with less baggage and better ratings, the Sussex spotlight may start fading faster than anyone anticipated. The financial implications stretch well beyond Netflix. Meghan's growing media presence, including her lifestyle brand As Ever, has been heavily intertwined with the couple's streaming visibility. Her product launches, from flower sprinkles to Napa Valley Rose, benefit directly from the exposure that platform-backed projects provide. If that exposure dries up, so too might the broader ecosystem of brand credibility and influence she's been meticulously building.
You can't manufacture that stuff, right? It feels fake. It feels weird. I don't understand why they would think something like that would work. But these are not people who are just posting on a whim, right? Like, this is an entire industry.
It's
I know
calculated.
you've covered this in depth. This is a whole industry. They've got people working on this 24 hours a day to try to make this Meghan Markle thing into a thing.
Netflix was never just a distribution channel, it was a stage. And if the curtain falls on that partnership, it could trigger a domino effect across every part of their post-royal empire. In the end, this scandal may prove to be more than just a reputational hazard. It may be a financial inflection point. If the Diana controversy marks the tipping point that causes Netflix to rethink its investment, then the implications go far beyond bad press. They threaten to undermine the very foundation of the Sussex's media machine. One has to wonder, in trying to retell the most powerful modern platform, that's what makes the Diana connection so combustible, because if Meghan's influence is seen not as reverent but revisionist, if she's accused of hijacking a beloved legacy to prop up her brand, then the blowback could be catastrophic, not just for public opinion, but for the couple's entire post-royal strategy. The palace won't need to retaliate with statements or lawsuits. All they have to do is wait, let the viewers, the press, and even Netflix do the dirty work. And let's be honest, if Netflix starts cutting scenes, erasing credits, and quietly shelving projects, it won't just look like editing, it'll look like surrender.
Is disrespectful, I think, to the moment, to the child, and truly to like the sanctity of what goes on for any humans who are actually in that situation. She's drunk on her own ego.
As of now, no formal statement has been issued by the Duchess, no interviews, no damage control tour, just curated silence and a few smiling lifestyle posts on As Ever's official page. In a move that raised eyebrows, her Rose launch Instagram post was updated to include a heart emoji next to Diana's birthday. A subtle nod or a strategic deflection? Depends on who you ask. What we do know is that Diana's image, once untouchable, once protected like a crown jewel, is now caught in a proxy war between legacy, profit, and personal identity. And while we watch it unfold, we're left with a choice. Is this the natural evolution of a new generation reclaiming their version of history? Or is it a warning sign that even the most sacred symbols are now up for reinterpretation in the age of streaming deals and brand expansions?
Like the gross disrespect to the intimacy and privacy of marriage and childbirth. You know, there are some moments that are supposed to be between a husband and a wife only. And the moments before you give birth to your child is one of them, when you are together in that room and your child is coming.
So now we ask the question that no one at Buckingham, Netflix, or Montecito seems ready to answer. Is this the beginning of the end for Meghan and Harry's partnership with Netflix? And if this is how far Meghan is willing to go, what secrets could come next? How much more will the monarchy endure before they strike back, publicly, definitively, and without mercy? Let us know what you think in the comments. Is this a bold tribute gone too far, or just the next battle in the royal PR war? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and keep your eyes wide open, because in this family, the truth never stays buried for long. Until next time, stay curious, stay scandalous,